You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Orange is the New Black After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Orange is the New Black After Show.
The animal is trapped till the cage is full. The cage is full. The day is new, and everyone's waiting on you. And you've got time.
Why was that like the extra long holes?
I was like, who's going to stop first? Woo-hoo, what's up, everyone? I am Scott Moore, and with me is the always lovely...
Hey, it's me, Megan Thomas.
And we are back here for Season 2, Episode 11, Take a Break from Your Values. Orange is the New Black. We are getting close to the end here.
Right, we are.
Woo!
Very close. I'm excited. It's like, I can't wait to see the final episode of the season because every single episode keeps building and it's the excitement.
I know,
and
it is growing, and I keep saying it too. Every episode is like, I feel like, oh, it's my favorite episode. It's my favorite episode, and I have to come back in the next one and be like, this is my favorite episode.
Right,
just like you said, it's just building and building and getting better and better and darker and darker.
Right.
Oof. Storms are brewing.
It is.
That's Superstorm Wanda.
Is it Hurricane Wanda? No, not in New York. That's not a hurricane.
Well, no, they did call it they do call it a hurricane, but then on the weather report it was like Superstorm Wanda. I think they're taking from Sandy, a page out of Sandy there, heading up that way, and that's why Thaddeus and Emma couldn't be here today because they're helping to fortify the prison.
Right.
They're volunteering. Good people. They're sandbagging the prison right now.
Sandbagging Litchfield.
That's right, to make sure that they don't get flooded because she's gonna make her entrance soon, and more than meets the eye with a storm brewing.
Right.
Got a lot of stuff going on. It's getting stormy in the prison as well as outside. But before we get there, we finally get to learn a little bit more about Sister Jane.
Yes, which is interesting. Wow. We always knew in the other seasons that she had gone into prison for some type of protest. Mm-hmm. But now that we know, like, why, it makes you look at her a little bit differently. Because,
totally.
You know, because you think, okay, a nun, she's in prison.
Right.
How bad could she really be? Mm-hmm. I mean, she was doing something very honorable, only to find out that she was a bit narcissistic.
Yeah, a bit. I know. I was like, wow, look at her. This put her in a whole new light. And you know, we learned that she basically was kicked out of the church.
She's been excommunicated.
So she's former sister, you know? So now she's trying to play the whole sister thing when she's in prison, but she's really not even a sister anymore.
Right. But you see, like, her intentions were good, I guess, when she started.
That was true. I cracked up with the Mother Superior there. It was like, don't ask what Christ can do for you. Ask what you can do for Christ.
How backwards is that? Well, actually, I mean, you should. You should do things for Christ if you are a Christ follower.
Right.
But the fact that it's like God doesn't do anything for you, you do everything for God.
It was pretty. But you kind of see the seeds of that narcissism in there from the very beginning, because she's like, oh, when is Christ going to start talking to me?
Right.
When is he going to start talking to me? Like, he talks to all these other, sisters, and he hasn't said anything to me. And so you kind of see the seeds planted there of that narcissism, that self-absorption that she seems to have. But it was really interesting, and it was kind of the product of her time there, the mid to late 60s. A lot of stuff was going on, obviously with the Vietnam War and race relations, and so many other things were going on that, like you said, I think she had good intentions.
Right.
And this was a way to kind of do good than being stuck, cloistered, or whatever they call it in the
convent.
Nunnery.
Yeah, nunnery. And then her book, which I thought was like this. What is it? Was like this nun shall pass or something, or none shall pass.
None shall pass.
None, and it was her hand was like this. None shall pass. But I can see how that has changed, over the years from how she started. And then now when she wrote her book, she was just kind of like, what do you mean? Like, I'm trying to one up the other nuns and they're protesting. Right. And she's throwing the blood on the nuke site. Yeah. So, okay, I think this probably was a good thing for her to go to prison and to kind of get back to what is important, which is
get back to the roots there.
Right.
That was pretty hilarious, though. It's like she's like this media star, you know. It's like planning her protest to get the most stuff in the New York Times headlines to like at the same
coincide
time
with her
to
book
coincide
release.
with her book release.
Good grief, Sister Jane.
So that was pretty interesting, but again, it was, you know, pretty much what I expected. It wasn't like she had this evil dark side, or she wasn't running off doing some really bad nefarious things. So pretty much still,
she did. She ran off with Carlos.
Oh yeah, I know.
In
Yeah,
South America,
yeah.
according to her book.
Well, according to her book, yes. But again, like if she wasn't a nun, would that have been bad?
Well, it depends.
I don't know. I don't think it would have been that bad. But yeah,
I know,
that was
right?
pretty
Nobody
funny.
would have cared. But I mean, obviously, if you're a nun, that is the vow that you take to never, I guess, have sex,
right? Because you're married to God.
Never have kids. So I guess I can see why they would have excommunicated her because her values were changed.
Too about his abs of steel. And there was more going on with the rebellion and oh my God, the whole book was. I almost wish that book was real because I'm like I would totally read something like that because it's hilarious.
None shall pass.
None shall pass. Yeah, I was like, none's the word, but I keep wanting to say none's the word. So again, it was good to finally get to know her. And then as we move back into present day here in the prison, we're seeing, you know, the list of demands.
And that she joins
she joins it.
Yes, she joins the protest group.
Oh my God, that whole protest group though is once again it's
the weirdest
mix
group,
ragtag,
leaderless / leaderful movement.
Leaderful. And then they're half of them are asking for ridiculous requests. And the other half are like, okay, we can see some of the stuff here. It's still kind of silly. And obviously, sister does have some real, former sister, I don't know, whatever. She does have some real demands that are serious. And should be looked at. And so I really understand where she's coming from. You know, the other ones are just silly. What was the other? I always forget the other girl's name besides Leanne. And I always write it down, you know, the fourth one of the group. I mean, they just got so silly with like
Leanne's friend with the brown hair. Yeah,
wanting like, oh, we want real maple syrup instead of the artificial stuff. And, you know.
Like we have a maple syrup issue here.
Right. And more dessert options and like things that really, in the big scheme of things, were silly and kind of took away from
the movement
of what they're trying to accomplish. So, you know, it was like,
I know, but so I would say this. So, of course, they have the demands being So wants, what does she want?
She wants, let's see. I was just trying to look at this here.
Well, okay, so I know Yoga Jones wants for Shu. She wants to make sure that people are, you know, Shu was only used as like a last line,
and
last resort.
And again, that's a legitimate concern because, you know, we've talked about before. It's like they're using it as like a timeout, and they're using it at their own beck and call whenever they want to. Whenever the guards feel like, okay, we'll just toss them in Shu. Like it's not being used in the way that it was set up for. And as we've talked about even last season, is it something that's been happening in real life and out here in California, the prison system, and they're trying to get away with not doing that anymore because it's not healthy. It's not good.
And I think it's correct. Like if you're going to put someone in solitary, you have to have rules as far as if you do this is how long you go in there. And people, and it should be transparent. You shouldn't, just like Caputo says, he's like, well, we don't have to tell you like what our system is for putting you into Shu, how long you have to be there, that kind of thing, and that should be transparent. You should know if I cause a fight, I'm gonna be in Shu for this many days, or if I do this. I mean, to me, that's only fair. You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
And again, it should be only used under extreme circumstances. And like you said, there should be a very clear protocol of what happens, and also how long you would be in there for.
Right. And so here's the thing that I was thinking about. Do you think that what Watson says to Yoga Jones is true, which is, you know, you have some guilt here, and so the reason why you're so invested in how long people are put in Shu has nothing to do with me. I'm your token black, like I don't want to be your token black friend. Do you feel like there's any validity to what Watson tells Yoga Jones?
Well, I did a little bit because I do kind of see kind of both sides there, but I do because she brings up the good question. Like, I don't want you to, you know, have any, you know, that guilt for me or whatever. It's kind of true in a way. How did you take it?
Well, I took it as I think Watson is just in a difficult state of mind because think about it. She's been in solitary for this is the second time she keeps going back there. She keeps going for stupid stuff, you know. So of course her state of mind is a little abrasive, and rightly so.
Right.
But I do think, does Yoga Jones have some kind of guilt there, yes, and I can't wait to see her backstory.
Exactly, me too. That's why I think there is guilt. That's why I kind of see both sides to it.
Right.
They're both on the extreme end, but I do see it. And I think Watson was a little extreme on that, but I totally
right.
Get
but
her
I do also
perspective.
think that Yoga Jones is a kind-hearted person and that she does seem to care about Watson. And so I do think there is some genuine care there as well.
Yeah, so there's a little both, and again, like you said, I can't wait to see Yoga Jones's backstory there.
Oh yeah, but I just remembered Soso's Soso's demands was to fix the bathroom.
Right.
And of course, Caputo says that they were doing that.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of funny. It was like, well, it's coincidence. And when Yoga Jones says, about the shoe, and he's like, well, Watson's coming out today. Coincidence. Right. You didn't have anything to do with it. So he was kind of knocking it all down. But then I think the best part is that it got into their little Bugle newsletter. Right,
which Healy just kind of skipped over because he's just happy the Safe Place had a huge ad.
Exactly. So he's like, is the ad in there? And as long as the ad was in there, he kind of didn't even bother to check it out. So it goes and gets copied and gets dispersed. And of course, now Caputo sees it. And so that's what leads him to go and have this whole thing and realizes that, okay, what can I do to kind of like quell this from becoming a bigger issue?
Right.
Because of course they're still going under the hunger strike. And I thought what the guards did was kind of mean too.
Right, with the pizza that is so rude. Like, leave them alone. Let them. They're already, But Leanne says this too. We're already getting punished. Why punish ourselves?
I know, that was hilarious though. And then and again because it kind of shows how silly their side is and. Like, let them eat. Go ahead and let them eat. Right. And she's like, oh, I'm Edward Pizza Hands.
Right. But I think Caputo knows he has a fight on his hands once the sister joins because she's a pro at protesting.
Exactly. She's a pro protester.
A professional protester. And in addition to that, she's got a valid demand, which is it's illegal to do what they did.
Absolutely. With dumping
Jimmy.
Yeah, with the compassionate release.
Right.
By dumping her. That's what I'm saying. She has the most validity there and has the most things. So her side is really, really, really serious.
Right. And I love how she, once she joins the movement, now they've got a leader, even though they have a leaderless movement.
I know, and the younger girls get really pissed off about that.
Right.
Like, wait a minute, we're not supposed to have a leader here.
But she's right. She's like, have you contacted these groups? These are the people that need to know.
Yeah.
She knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing, exactly. And so again, she's got a real cause here, and it's something that you feel like she's got to get out there.
Let's see. I'm interested to see how this turns out.
I think
it'll be good.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting there. But yeah, the other girls are out already.
Yes.
Because they succumbed to the pizza, which I think, honestly, I probably would have too.
I would have too. Not going to lie.
Because you're not going to get food like that in prison to begin with, and then you're already hungry from going days without eating, and then they're bringing a nice greasy cheese pizza right in your face,
and they're like flapping it
right in your face.
Oh,
scent, of course. I think I would totally. Well, because
I probably wouldn't have made it past the first day.
I don't
honestly.
either. Well, I guess, and I think part of the thing is too is like how. Again, like, because even Caputo mentioned is like nobody really knows about it, but you're doing it here, nobody knows about it. And in a way, I kind of feel that way because when you're doing a hunger strike, unless it's really well known, I always feel like the hunger strike is really only for you. It only affects you. It's not affecting anyone else. So I guess I've never quite understood how hunger strikes work in the long run.
Well, I think the deprivation of it. What I think Fig and Caputo were talking about is that they are under obligation to give these women 3 meals a day.
Right.
So if you have somebody that's going to the medical facility, you've got a group of women going because they are, dehydration, malnutrition. Then of course questions start getting raised.
Of course.
And people can talk to family members. So now you got people on the phone calling their friends like, you're not gonna believe this. These women passed out because there's a hunger strike, bad press, and it just continues to snowball. So I think that's kind of why I do think that hunger strikes work, but it only does work if people know about it.
That's what I was gonna say.
But people will know about it if it
out.
got worse than it was.
But that's the thing is that, regardless, it's really affecting you, the person that's doing the hunger strike, the most,
right?
Because you're depriving yourself, and you're getting sicker and weaker, and I don't know. I've always found it like, oh man, that's tough. I don't know how people do it. I wouldn't be able to last that long either.
Well, let us know what you think. Would you be able to join the hunger strike or not? Would you be able to live without that wonderful greasy pizza that the guards were giving the girls? Let us know. Make sure you go to iTunes and subscribe to our podcast. All you have to do is look up Orange is the New Black, AfterBuzz TV. You'll see our podcast. Click subscribe. It's free, and you'll always get our podcast after we release them.
Yes,
and give us 5 stars.
5 stars, please. And we love these comments. We really do. It's always great to hear from you guys, to know what you guys are thinking, what things we might have missed.
Right.
Agree, disagree. especially like that. Would you be able to go on a hunger strike? And how would you do?
Nope.
Because I know I wouldn't be able to.
I'm a fat kid. Sorry.
I am too.
Fat kids unite.
Love me some food and drink. I'm sorry, don't want to give it up.
All right, let's move on to V. V is for villain.
Yes, she's just getting. It's just annoying me almost more and more too, because it's just like continuously. It's like, come on, she must be stopped.
Right, and like, okay, so we all know that V is like a big manipulator, but the fact that she has to go to the library to bother Poussey, and like Poussey's done being a bother. I feel like she's not trying to do stuff. She's not bothering you, V. Leave her alone.
Yeah,
Why do you? But V is a mind messer upper.
Yes, and she just has to keep like digging, and she's got to have her way, and she's got to have that control all the time over everything.
Right. It's already bad enough you beat the girl up.
I know. It's oh God. But I love that Poussey stood up for herself there.
She did.
In the library. That was awesome. Because I'm like, yeah, you go, girl. Like, do not let her take you down, because she already has, you know.
And she says, what do I have left to lose? You took my friend.
Right.
You try to take my job. Like, there's
Right.
nothing else for you to take from me.
Right.
So whatever. Do what you want.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You know, and of course we've got like Healy trying to do his safe place thing, which I also think is pretty hilarious this time around too, you know?
Right.
And that builds onto the story too, with Poussey and V, and obviously Crazy Eyes, who's now the henchman for V. I mean, like,
poor.
she's got to get out of her
little like, poor Crazy Eyes. I mean, I want to feel bad for Suzanne, because Suzanne is like just Suzanne. She just wants someone to love her and be accepted, and V gives her the fakeness, which is also kind of how she reeled Tasty in.
Right. As you see again, like, she's totally reeled Tasty back in.
Right. And
in this time period.
But this is the first time I think that V actually, you see the amount of anger that she has and what she's capable of, because of how quickly she loses it when they're sitting at the lunch table and she slams her cup down.
Yeah.
And tells Tasty, basically, why do you keep defending Poussey?
Yeah.
Look, you're going to mess our family up. And that's, of course, when she gives Tasty the responsibility of keeping track of Poussey.
Yeah, because she's like, no, I'm not going to do anything more. Now it's on you. Like, she was, it just made me so angry when she did that. It's like, she's your responsibility now. So if anything happens from this on point, it's your problem.
Dang.
Oh, my God. Although I do love that whole scene before when she's like, and ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
And then Black Cindy says what?
If snitches and bitches were wine and beer, we'd all have a Happy New Year. And then, of course, poor little Suzanne tries to do her little part, and that's when V, like, slams her cup down and like, interrupts her. And it's basically, Queen.
I think I like Black Cindy more. She's funny to me.
She is funny.
She adds more comedic element to this.
Well, that's why I was saying before, too, is I feel like this season has a lot more just more one-liners and a little bit more comedy.
Right.
I think from all of the characters to some degree, but yeah, Black Cindy is really one of the main ones that's really come out with these great little one-liners and everything, and just, you know, like that whole conversation she had in the bathroom. I forget if that was last episode or 2 episodes ago with or no, it was this episode, right? It was the one where she tells
she tells Red that Boo was the snitch.
Yeah, like that was a great, like, hilarious. All of her lines there. I think I wrote some of those down too. But I mean, she's just so funny.
Right.
Where I have to find that line. Trying to find my notes here. But yeah, I mean, it's just one thing after the other with V.
But here's the thing I'll say. So the past few episodes, you've always talked about how you thought Poussey was going to help bring V down.
Yes.
I'm starting to believe that more, because it seems like Poussey is the only one that sees through V's crap.
Right.
And usually that's what it takes for somebody to, you know, bring a villain down.
I mean, I'm still hoping. I'm hoping she's going to kind of rise up, because I feel like she's been knocked down. We saw her with the hooch and you know, things like that. So I feel like she's kind of reaching that rock bottom. But I hope, because she does see through V, that somehow her and Tasty, like, she'll be able to have Tasty hopefully see through V once and for all. I don't know. But I do feel like all of them are somehow going to come together and be the ones to finally take down V.
I hope so.
It's got to happen. But yeah, it's just getting to the point now where it just annoys me, because I'm like, she just keeps getting away with it.
Right, and you kind of want to, like,
it.
Lorraine Toussaint, again, is an amazing actress, because there's times
is.
there's times that I'm like, well, maybe she's different.
I know, I still go through that, because she's so good.
She's
you know,
so good.
what she does, I'm like, oh, she's so good.
Right.
So good.
So then, of course, we've got the safe place.
Oh my God, that's what I'm saying. Healy's safe place thing is hilarious.
Right.
Because now he has like the feelings jar in his office. I mean, he's really going full force with the whole therapy guidance thing. Like he's having this rebirth here with this.
Right. Which I'm a little worried because I feel like he needs to go to therapy more. And I don't know if he's cured or fixed. I think he's just a ticking time bomb.
He is,
honestly.
and this whole like feelings thing, it just feels so it feels so pun intended, not intended, but sort of so like just fake and so again like I can't think of the word, bureaucratic in a way. It just doesn't feel like it's a real like it really helps people. It's like, here, let's have the list of the proof feelings
true,
on the
but
piece
I will
of
say that
paper.
it's different because when you're in prison and you don't have anything to do anyway, I mean, I would go to the safe place just to be like, shoot, I'll get a shot off my off my record, and I get to talk about feelings.
I know,
whether
but again,
anyone really
it just
cares.
feels so bureaucratic to me. It's like, come here and you'll get a shot taken off, and you can talk about whatever. It just seems silly.
Why not? What do you have to lose? A
I
shot.
know.
Hello.
I know.
You might as well go.
It's true, but I feel at the same time, that if you're with a group, and we do see this when Poussey finally goes into the group, V knows about it, sends in her henchmen, that she's not able to really speak freely. So to me, it defeats the purpose of what this place is supposed to be.
But that's not Healy's fault, though.
No, it's not Healy's fault. But the problem is that you won't ever, in a lot of ways, be able to have people, if it's a mixed group of people, be able to speak truthfully and openly with the group because it'll get out to the other people. So that's where I feel like that's where that type of thing isn't really a safe place. It's kind of silly. Unless
you do what I like is the like anonymous. Like in the feelings jar,
like the feelings jar would be,
I'm feeling scared because someone is trying to kill me.
Right.
Like you don't have to put your name on it, but then I feel like that would be Healy's job to go, okay, someone here feels scared because they feel like someone didn't kill them. Let's everyone talk about what you would do or what you should do, and that way there's nobody that's singled out, but of course that person gets to hear the feedback. You know, I don't know, because that to me would be the only way.
Yeah,
without giving names and that kind of thing.
Without getting names or anything, but yeah, that's where I think that would just be lacking in being able to do what he wants it to be. Is this safe place, like he says, where anything said here stays here or whatever. It doesn't really work that way in prison, and so that's where I kind of feel like he's not really getting it.
Right. What do you think about him and Pensatucky's relationship?
Oh my God, I know. It's just getting weirder and weirder. Yeah. There's a couple things that I'll get to maybe later.
Okay.
But it's just, and it kind of harkens back with him back to season 1, I feel like, and that's something I'll talk about later. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but if you kind of felt that way too, it was like certain issues that are popping back up that I was thinking about in the last season that kind of got put to bed for a while and now are resurfacing. So
right, I wonder what's going to happen with him and Pensatucky. They're just getting closer, and I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
That's what I'm saying. It's a weird situation.
Know.
It's a weird situation. So of course, it's just his whole thing, and I guess we should move on to Piper because there's a lot going on too with Piper, and then we have the Larry Polly Pete thing. I mean, there's so much stuff going on there. But of course, Piper goes into Healy's office and, finds out that she's being transferred now to Virginia.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I didn't realize that they transfer prisoners around like that.
Yeah, I didn't either, especially across state lines.
Right.
I guess because it's federal, right? So that's the only reason where I was thinking, okay, well, that makes sense because if they're in a federal prison, then they can kind of go anywhere.
Right, exactly.
But I still wouldn't have thought they would move them that far and that.
Well, Virginia's not that far from New York.
No, not that far, but far enough. If you're, because from where we take it, they're in, I don't know if they're upstate New York or they're between New York City and Albany is what I'm guessing. Somewhere up there. It's still a pretty good distance because I think she even makes a comment that she might have to fly there and doesn't know where she's going to end up. But it does seem weird to me too. It feels very odd that you would move people around.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you think about a franchise, if you work for a company that has multiple offices in different cities, you technically could get transferred to a different city.
To a new job, yeah.
So now they just work, I guess when you're a prisoner, you kind of work for the state because you do get paid for your job in prison. So
I mean, I know it happens out here a lot, and they do bring up, again, that they're claiming they're overpopulated, and so they've got, although a dozen prisoners really doesn't seem like that much to me. But, I mean, that happens here, and that's a big thing that's been happening here in California. And, again, a big political thing, which is the interesting thing that they bring up a lot of this stuff. We have the realignment, and that's been a big thing because they're way overpopulated prisons in the state, and it's become like a court thing that they have to abide by the rules, and so a lot of prisoners have been moved to state or to county and local prisons and jails now. Like the people are doing years of time in jails, which they're not supposed to do, and now more pressure has been put on the county out here in California. So it's a very big issue that they're kind of bringing up a little bit here in the show of what, again, is going on in the real world with the prison system and the overpopulation of the prison system, especially out here in California. It's been a big issue for a couple of years now.
Right. And so, of course, when Healy adds, or he okays to add Alex to Piper's call list, of course, and
so she can get closure.
So she can get closure, not a lesbian thing.
Yeah,
she makes sure to say that. But I think that. Do you think Fig really put Piper's name on the list, or do you think it was random, as Healy said?
I know that was a really tough one because it seems silly that she would have done that. But I wouldn't have put it past her. But it does seem like it was more random. I don't know. What do you think?
I think Fig put her name on the list.
You do?
Absolutely,
you feel like she's a trouble.
I do, because now Fig knows that Piper wants,
she's snooping around.
Just snooping around, and she doesn't. That's another problem Fig doesn't need.
You're right. She's like snooping around, and she's worried she's gonna find out about.
And of course,
and
Chapman always is the type of prisoner that is
yeah, that's a good point.
Now we have this newsletter. Now let's put our demands. It's just too much. So I think because she's a troublemaker, and a starter, she wants to kick her out.
No, that's a good point.
But I think it's not fair for, what's the other prisoner with the baby? What's her name?
Yeah, I know. I forget her name. Yeah, that's.
I think that's unfair, though. I think it shouldn't be random. I think you, unfortunately, as it is, I think you should go, okay, who has had visitors, who has not had visitors? And I know that's probably a wrong way to do it, but if somebody doesn't have a visitor, then I think, okay, fine, you move them.
Right.
Because it's not like anybody's coming to see them. Maybe that's mean for me to say. But still, if a woman has a baby
and a family.
Why would you move her?
Move her away from them to be able to
That's
have the
not
access
fair.
to visit. Yeah, I know. It's also like, how would they decide if they claim it's random or not? And then how would they decide, is it just visitors? Is it, their behavior? Is it, there's so many things that would go into place for that. But you're right. I do think it's kind of silly the way they did that, and especially only a dozen prisoners. But my question is, do you think she's going to end up moving, though?
I think so. I think that would be an interesting season 3, because we kind of I hate to say it, but we kind of have gone through.
We have. And
everyone's story. So I would be interested. I know that would be completely new, but to see a whole new set of women, a whole new set of dynamics in a different prison.
Yeah, I agree with you. I kind of go both ways on this, because I know we talked about this a couple episodes ago. Now, once we get through all these backstories, I'm like, what is a season 3 going to look like? But on the other hand, we've gotten to know all these characters on such a deeper level. And, obviously the prison and the prison itself is almost like its own character. So I can't imagine that they'd be away from it. So I'm wondering if it'll be something like they did in season 2. Like she moves.
Right.
And then somehow she gets moved back, after a couple episodes.
Well,
you
here's
can introduce
the other
new
thing.
characters, and you can still have the other storyline going on at the same time.
Maybe she won't leave it. I don't know. Maybe she won't have to leave at all, especially with I think she's getting closer to figuring what's going on with the money coming out of the prison. So I think because of that, maybe she'll get to stay.
That's true. That's another alternative. Is like maybe she'll start to know, and Fig knows that she knows, and so maybe there's a way of
to
keeping
keep
her
her
there,
quiet.
to keep her quiet.
Okay, we'll let you stay here. We'll give you time off of your sentence. You can go home.
Right. So there's so many alternatives that could go in. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that she is going to go to Virginia? Do you think, that's what they're going to do with season 3? Or is it going to be something like we're saying here? She'll end up staying because she's going to find out what Fig is doing, and Fig will want to keep her quiet, or a whole other alternative, something completely different. Who knows? But it's definitely going to be interesting, because now we have that kind of hanging over our head there to see, is she really going to leave?
Right.
And for how long? And of course, at the same time here, we've got the whole Alex call that she actually gets through to her. And once again, we see this unhealthy dynamic again, with her relationship, because then she finds out that Cooper also walked.
Right.
And so now Piper's the only one really in prison now for this whole thing. So Cooper, the mastermind, which is so unfair. The mastermind behind the entire enterprise and everything is walking free.
The person who brought her in and did most of the dirt is walking free.
And now Piper's the only one in prison. So we see again on
the flip side, at least she's safe, quote unquote, from Cooper and his henchmen.
Yes. So now she finds out that Alex is in some apartment in Queens, and that she basically has to fear for her life because she doesn't have protection.
Right.
She meets with a correction officer 20 minutes once a week. And so, of course, now Piper's freaking out for her. And now she feels bad for her because at first she was just so angry.
Right.
Rightfully so. I'd be angry too. You know, it's like, here you are telling me to do this. You do the complete opposite. You get out. And now I'm stuck behind bars now. And you're free. So, of course, I'd be furious. So, but, of course, about face changed. Now she feels bad for her. Again, I can see understandably. For her safety, fears for her safety, wants to make sure she's okay.
I don't feel bad for her.
Yeah, exactly, but it drags her. But I get where she's coming from again. But again,
I think it's stupid.
You're like,
I think Piper is a dum-dum.
No, she is dumb, but I can get her reasoning because she's dumb and she's making stupid choices. So once again, we see her falling back into, the orbit of Alex. And now she's worried about her, and I'm like, oh, great. Just when I thought, like, maybe, we'll get to season 3 and we'll get a clean start and she can start over, she's back in the orbit of Alex again. So
right. I'm sorry, Alex.
Yeah.
That's what you get. I can't help you.
So we see that there is a possibility. I don't know. What do you think? Because then, of course, the neighbor comes banging on her door conveniently right after the phone call, freaks her out. He's all angry. You can hear this male voice. Little find out it's thinking it's just a recycling.
Okay, did you notice this? She didn't give her last name to the guy.
Yeah, she didn't.
And he said her last name.
He did.
So does that mean he's probably one of the henchmen?
Well, see, that's what I was thinking that too. I was like, oh, is he in on it? And you just want to see that's where she was and she answered the door? Or was he? Because then he made that whole weird comment about, oh, there were these guys that were looking for you, which I thought was
Alex
weird
Voss.
too.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was weird.
I don't know. Is he? Yeah, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But at the same time, it lends itself to believe that, okay, maybe her safety is at risk here.
Right.
We'll see.
I mean, it is definitely if these men are coming to look for you. Either
right,
way,
but is that,
it's either they came to look for you or this guy is a part of it. Either way, they know where you are. Mm-hmm. Somewhat. They know where you are. So, yeah, she should be afraid.
Yeah.
She should be very afraid. She should commit another crime and go back to Litchfield.
Rightfully so. Well, who knows?
Just like Tasty.
That's right.
Go back.
Who knows? Go back in because then at least she'll know she'll be safe. Maybe she'll try to do that to try to get back in, and then Alex moves to Virginia. So, or Piper moves to Virginia.
Maybe they see each other in Virginia. Who knows?
Well, Virginia is for lovers, so.
Just like, so it's New York apparently for Polly and Larry.
Oh my God, was that the most awkward?
I cannot believe this. I think this was probably the most unbelievable portion of this episode. How on earth is Polly and Larry, how are they going to end up together?
Right.
Why?
I know.
Well, I don't know. Okay, so fine. Polly, you guys messed up and you tell Pete, and Pete only gives Larry one punch to the face, which I thought was...
I was waiting for him too because I'm like, wait, he's not really that upset. At first he starts with a threesome, which I thought
which was like, that's a little weird, Pete. Okay. See where your head's at.
Right, exactly. So I was like, okay. But then it's like, then he just seemed, all right, just the one punch. So I was waiting because if you didn't even do that, I was like, okay, this is so not.
Well, yeah, I think I would have liked to see a little bit more anger, even though what Polly says later is he's actually he's relieved.
Right.
Deep down, he's relieved that he doesn't have to grow up. Okay, that's true. But I think in the moment, he should have probably hit Larry a few more. There should have been a little more of a fight because this man has disrespected your home.
Yes.
Regardless if you don't want the responsibility of being a husband and a father, he is still coming to your man castle.
Yes. And he's still breaking up your marriage and your family basically right in front of you.
But I guess that just shows he doesn't really care about those.
Yeah,
anymore.
but still, I'm wondering how long this Polly Larry thing is going to last because don't you feel like part of it is the excitement?
Right.
Of
they don't really like each other.
It's the excitement. It's like, oh,
they look awkward together.
They do, and it's like here's the edgy, thing here, and like he's kind of going behind. They're going behind his back, and they were going behind Piper's back. And now that everybody knows, they feel like okay, it's kind of taking away that fun and that rebel and bad kind of thing about it. And now it's just going to be them in a boring everyday life with this newborn baby that's now. I don't know.
It's not going to work. I don't think the answer for their little affair was to be like, now we're going to be together.
Yeah.
I think it should have been like, yeah, we had an affair and that's that. We're done.
Let's walk away from it. You're right.
They're just not compatible, especially in that scene where you see Larry says to Polly, like, you're the only person that can call me idiot.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. I was like, no, she's very snarky. Trust me, she probably does mean it deep down.
Yeah. And then this whole thing about him being rugged. I was like, please, Larry, you are not rugged. It was like, I did the whole thing in Israeli army.
Summer
camp. Army summer camp. I was like, Larry, that's like me saying I'm rugged, okay? For me, like, camping is going somewhere without air conditioning.
Oh,
Okay,
that's funny.
so, yeah,
I'm
it's like,
probably
come
more
on.
rugged than you.
Yeah, absolutely. You are.
Oh, that's
So that's
funny.
why I thought it was like with Larry. I'm like, please, this whole thing is just a joke. But
Right.
I guess on the plus side, at least they put it out there, right? It's out there in the open. There's no sneaking behind anyone's back anymore.
Except the
and-
fact that, okay, so Piper knows, but they didn't like explicitly go, hey, Piper.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you figure you connected
Yeah.
the dots.
You connected
but
dots, but we won't actually tell you blatantly.
like,
to your
no,
face.
to me, that's wrong. They should.
No, of course.
I think they should both go together to Litchfield and tell Piper.
But you
just
know
like
what?
they told Pete.
That's a great thing to do. I have to say, if you have to go confront someone about something you don't want to do, why not go at visiting hours at a prison when there's a guard around and witnesses and they can't do anything to
Right.
you? So I'm like, you know what? That's probably the best way. I'm like, I should just start doing that if I have to confront people. Just bring them to prison visitor
Right.
hours and put them in front of witnesses and guard and tell them what I have to tell them.
And they're lying
and walk
too.
out.
Right. And they're lying when they say that, okay, everyone knows. No, because Piper doesn't know that you guys are together.
Yeah, now Piper doesn't.
That's
know
a
you're together.
different story.
Exactly. Yeah, the one-off sleeping
Right,
with
right.
affair thing is one thing, but now to actually be together is a whole other thing. And now, breaking up the marriage, I don't know. That whole thing is ridiculous. I don't
Right.
see that lasting very long.
It's not. It's not.
So what do we have to get to? Red and Boo?
So yeah, of course we do find out
Yeah.
about Red. Finally finds out who
It was a very
she was like being so
short-
mean to people, like Frida. She
I
like
know, poor Frida.
I know, and then she thought for a moment, who
Norma?
Norma. That's how you know she was tripping. Like
Yeah.
Norma doesn't talk. You
What do
really
you-
think like
you think
Norma
she's gonna
probably
do it?
told her.
Exactly. So, yeah, but you see that there is a side of Red too that she is sort of on that paranoid edge, but at the same time, she's right to feel that way. She's just
Right, but I think she's getting
Putting
more
in
and
the wrong-
more paranoid as the episodes go on.
Yeah, but I feel like rightfully so because she's got V on her back, and obviously somebody, she doesn't know who at this point, knows
About the tunnel.
about the tunnel and has told V, and and that's gotten out, and so kind of like her secret's out. So I feel like rightfully, in a sense, she has a reason to be paranoid. It's just that she's getting, like you said, worse and worse, and it's getting a little crazy, like they said, like when you're starting to accuse Norma and everything. And
Right.
But I feel like that was the quickest resolution to finding out who did it. Because I'm surprised. I don't know. I guess Black Cindy didn't care, but it seems like, why would you tell him so quickly?
I think because Black Cindy
She
just
just
likes drama. She
Yeah.
just likes the drama. She just likes to be
That scene was hilarious, though.
right. When Black Cindy came in the bathroom, like, okay,
Yeah.
so you guys are like super loud talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think I don't see why. I really don't think that V should have told the rest of her girls that Boo was the one who revealed what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think V should have just kept that in her pocket, that she knew that Red had a tunnel.
Right. Well, that's what I think too. And sort of, it felt like it didn't do any good to have revealed that so soon. But I guess it helps us in the storyline
Right,
through
right.
the end of the season of like, okay, she should know.
Right.
But now Red's basically doing the same thing that V does. It's like now she's excommunicating her back to the sister from the group.
Right.
So it's sort of this whole like. Red does a lot of the same things V does, even though she has more of a conscience, and she's definitely a lot kinder than V. But in a lot of ways, she does the same exact things.
I think it was nice though that Red gave Boo her Jolly Ranchers before she kicked her out the family.
Yeah,
Did you? But I thought they were laced with something. I was like,
I did too.
Don't eat those.
That's what I
Boo.
thought too. I'm like, they either have something in them. I'm like, don't go there.
They're like wrapped in excrement or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Because
don't
we know from Red from season 1, don't put anything past her. Because I thought that too. I'm like, just get rid of them. Like,
Right.
Don't take them. I mean, at least she was good about it. I mean, she iced her out, but it wasn't like it became a violent thing or anything.
Right,
So
right.
she just kind of iced her out of the family. And again, I feel bad for Boo because I think she set herself up now to be isolated.
Right, and she's like, Boo is the only one that has her back. I mean, let's be real, it's prison. You do need some kind of a backing.
You do.
You got
As-
200 other crazy ladies in there with
As
you.
V said, in the last in the episode when they were showing the backstory of how her and Red met, it was like your first mistake was not having backup.
Right.
And it's true. It's like you need to have your support system in there to have your back, literally.
Right.
And so I feel like now Boo is totally isolated herself, and I don't think she was really thinking of the repercussions
Right.
when she went out telling, V this information. And of course, V being the typical villain she is like, I don't want you to be around my group. You know, you're a snitch. I don't need a snitch in my group.
Right.
You know, she doesn't want around.
So then, of course, we see some stuff with the old ladies.
Mm-hmm.
The Golden Girls.
The Golden Girls, that's right.
Which we find it. I love how they're like the most violent ones.
They are.
The Golden Girls.
But you know what? In a way, I feel like they are because they're the hardcore hard timers here. They've been there for years.
They've been here forever, so you know they did that
and honestly, too, what do they have to lose at this point? They're either in there for life or a long, long time. They're already old. Like, what do they have to lose? They can kind of I feel like they have the most to be able to just do what they want to do in there because they've got nothing else to go for them. So, of course, you know, they have their whole little meeting in the greenhouse.
And I can't believe when Taslet says that she could just kill, like when she uses the whole pirate thing or whatever, and she says she could just kill like V. I didn't think she was serious. I didn't think because I'm like, okay, whatever. You're not gonna kill V. There's no way.
No,
you're not even gonna try.
No.
I was so surprised. I was so surprised. And what was it that she had that was sharp?
I was trying to figure what that was too, because I'm like, how did she get something sharp? Was it because it looked like a pen at first, but then I'm like, there's something on the tip. It didn't look like a gardening tool, because at first I was like, oh, it's gonna be like one of the. But even then, I think it'd be hard to like stab someone, especially you know they'll have the strength of the gardening tool. So I didn't know exactly what it was because it was like a whitish thing, wasn't it? It was
like, it looked kind of like a pen.
It did. It looked like a pen. Exactly. So I don't know. Do you guys know what that was out there? Like what was that? What did
Taslets use to shank the lady?
Shank the lady.
Which so when she's following V, I was kind of excited. I was like, yes.
I'm like, action's going down.
For whoever gets to kill V or mess her up, it's gonna be a golden oldie.
Yeah.
This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, someone that you would not expect to do it and take her out.
And did you expect her to get the wrong person?
No. I was like,
that was a surprise. To me, I'm like, how did you mess that up? Look, all black people don't look the same.
No.
Even the ones with the curly hair. No. That was to me, I'm like, what are the chances that someone's curls are just as big and crazy? The height, the body width of the girl is the same as V, and they just happen to be walking around the same corner at the same time.
I know, of course.
Chances are very small.
Very small, exactly. And that really bummed me out too, because I'm like, of course, V sees.
Right.
And now she's like, oh, all right.
We'll see what happens.
People are, you know, they're out to get me now. So now she's got to be extra careful. I'm like, dang it. So she didn't even get harmed or injured, you know. It wasn't even her. Like, I'm like, oh.
No, I'm still like, dang, Taslets, like these old chicks are serious.
And we've said this before. You don't mess, and they've said it. Like, I don't know what episode it was. Like, you know, don't underestimate us in the kitchen. You know, and it's true. Like, they're the real deal here. You don't mess with them. And like we saw with Rosa and her backstory, she was it's like you don't mess with her.
Right.
These are the real things here. These ladies went through it and went through some hard time and. You know, deserve to be there. Right. So, oh my gosh. But before we go, I can't forget, too, about that whole scene with Daya and her mother, too.
Right.
That was hilarious.
Oh,
her mom's advice. Her mom's advice was so funny.
Poor Daya and the situation. Now she feels bad about Mendez. And
of course.
I mean, I feel like she should.
She should. Yeah. She really should.
Now this man, you know, because I think they're having a bigger issue with this now than what they originally thought, which is when you lie, that's what happens. But she's starting to feel bad about it. She's given Bennett the cold shoulder, and that's what he gets.
And she feels bad about it, but then again, she still wants him to come clean too, which is such a tough moral line here. You know, it's like I get where she's coming from, but then I also feel, what about this baby now too? That's gonna have both parents in prison, and something that would normally not be a prison offense of just hooking up with someone, you know. It's because of the environment they're in and guard versus a prisoner. But so that's why it's like, oh. And
I love how the show goes to show us that the only difference between people that are not in jail and people who are is that the ones who are in jail got caught.
Exactly.
It's the only difference because everybody is breaking the law here.
Like you
Pornstache has broke the law. Bennett has broke the law.
Yes. Fig is obviously breaking the law.
Everybody's a criminal. Yeah. The only difference is you haven't gotten caught doing your criminal activity.
Exactly. And your varying degrees of criminal activity here. But I love like her mom's lines to her to try to comfort her. You know, she's like, "Oh, a lot of people are stupid but still live full, productive lives."
Right.
I was like, "That's true."
And she's like, "Look how you turned out."
Yeah, look how you turned out. I know. I was like, okay.
I am pregnant in prison.
Yeah. She's like, "You were raised in a non-traditional setting and you turned out great."
Really?
And then we're looking at the two of them like mother and daughter both in prison. Okay. It was such a funny scene there with the mom trying to comfort her, and it was ridiculous. And she's like, "Oh, the rape is the best thing that ever happened to you."
Right. Now you can get money from both guys.
I know. I was like,
gosh.
oh my God.
Only a lighter.
Of course. Oh my God, that was hilarious. And but before we go, of course, we've got the very ending there. Well, we also have Fig too, that's going in on her, you know, bitchy storm tirade here, and like telling everybody no more posters, no more paper. You know,
no more newsletter,
no more anything, like taking the pens away. Like she's just again on her tirade, and it's just funny because they just seem to be happening more and more frequently now.
Right.
So got that going on.
She's losing control.
Yep. So she's like, no more of that. So they try to shut that down, and of course they take sister to med, and you know, which was.
Because she passed out. I mean, she's got diabetes, so she does need to eat.
She does need to eat, so they passed. So I know. So what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, and it's because, which, you know, she had to be unconscious for them to feed her. So that is wrong. Like, let her pass out again, because you know she's going to pass out because she's a diabetic. And let her pass out, then give her the IV. But I do think that was wrong that they were going ahead to, you know, basically
the force feed her.
Right.
Yeah, hooked her up and force fed her, and God, that whole ending that was like, oh, and she was like, "You can't do this to me," and I was like, again, it's like the way the show just does everything. It's just so powerful, and then when it fades to orange, and they've got the great like music going, I'm like, oh, so intense.
Right.
I agree. Should not have force fed her, and we'll see what happens in the next episode and how that turns out for her. So yeah, any other final thoughts or?
I can't believe there's only 2 more episodes left. I am so excited to see what happens with all these characters.
We know a lot of stuff is going to be going down in the next 2 episodes. And I know episode 13 is like an hour and a half.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's extra long. So they had an extra half hour there. So a lot of stuff going on. But where can they find you in the meantime?
As always, you can go to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Meg Scoop, like scoop of ice cream. Hey.
Hi. And you can find me on the Twitter at SMan80. That's SMAN80. Here for True Blood after shows on Sunday evening and Defiance on Thursday evenings. Until next time.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.